Last week, I made a video about putting together a Casio and talked about my problem with buying various versions of the octagonal G-SHOCK models. A few months ago, I also waxed lyrical about Casio calculator watches. I own more Casio watches than any other brand, with Seiko coming in a distant second place. But the truth is that none of the watches that I've just mentioned are my most worn models. That accolade goes to the GBD-200-2ER. I've spoken a lot about holiday and beta watches on my channel. For me, this watch goes a step further than that in terms of punishment. This is my watch for workouts and swimming. I don't profess to be any kind of athlete, but I do a fair amount of swimming, walking, and I've run the London Marathon at a snail's pace a couple of times in the last few years to fundraise for Victor, a charity that supports sight-impaired or blind children and young adults in the UK. I'm not affiliated or sponsored by them in any way, but it's a good cause, so I'll leave a link to their page in the description if anyone is interested in their work. As a result of these endeavours, this watch has seen more blood, sweat and tears than any other in my collection. It hasn't been treated with care, love or attention, but it has been loved. It's bigger and bulkier than what I'd usually go for, and I think if I wanted a square model G-SHOCK for daily wear, I'd be looking towards the new GD-B500 range, as they are much slimmer and thinner on wrist. With the GBD-200-2ER, I wanted something larger, with the idea being that I could tell the time at a glance while on the move and find the watch a little easier as it lives in a pot with my keys rather than my watch box. Not quite sure why, but all my workout gear is blue, so this matches perfectly. The huge light button is also really useful, especially as I would often be getting miles in while training, either early in the morning or late at night, before or after work. Now, apologies to those in the know, but I do want to take a moment to look at why G-SHOCK models enjoy their reputation and popularity. Price and design are obviously a key factor. We won't do a deep dive into the back catalogue, but there are a number of absolutely iconic G-SHOCK models, and unless you have your heart set on a limited run special edition model, none are going to set you back more than £200, and even then, most come in under 100. The other key area that the watches are best known for is their durability. For the modern G-SHOCK range, that durability is built primarily around their carbon core guard. Behind the stainless steel caseback, the watch module itself is encased in a protective layer of carbon fibre infused with resin. Essentially, this gives the watch a secondary layer of protection beyond just the case and caseback. Now, to look at the specifics of the GBD-200-2ER, let's start with that all-important price point. The recommended retail price is £139, but it's very unlikely you'd ever pay that much. Casio offer deals for signing up to their newsletter to take a flat 10% off, and students can get 15 to 20% off depending on the offers currently available. Realistically though, you can probably get the watch cheaper elsewhere. Under £100 should be your aim, and that's even easier to achieve if you aren't as picky about the colour you get. I picked mine up for just over £80 with a nice sale and discount combo a few years ago. The first thing to know about the specifications of the watch is that the G Squad line of watches to which it belongs feature Bluetooth and can link to your smartphone's GPS system to function as an accurate accelerometer. This allows the watch to display your distance, speed, pace and calories burned. Now, I did use this functionality initially, but I'm not a particularly competitive person, not even against myself, and I found that I much prefer just going for a run with some music rather than worrying about my time. I was more focused on the journey rather than getting to the destination any faster. Clearly though, this kind of functionality is excellent if you do like tracking this kind of information. Far better than trying to run while carrying your phone. A quick glance to your wrist is all that's needed. The watch comes in at 58 grams, so it's pretty light on wrist and one of the lighter models that they offer with this level of Bluetooth functionality. Most G-SHOCK models only allow for time setting and other more basic functionality rather than fitness tracking. Now, having said that, this isn't going to be much of a replacement for a smartwatch or just a fitness app on your phone for tracking your vitals and fitness metrics. For that, I would point you in the direction of the GBD-H-1000 range, which features a heart rate monitor, pressure sensor, compass, thermometer and accelerometer. The price point is a lot higher, with the range coming in at £379, but if it's a G-SHOCK with full fitness tracking you want, this is your option. If it has to be a square model and you want an upgrade on the GBD-200 in terms of fitness tracking, there is the DWH-5600 range, which has the iconic rectangular styling, is available with plastic or metal bezels, and also features heart rate tracking. Back to the specifications of the GBD-200-2ER though, you can choose what data you want to display on the screen. For me, I always just kept it set on the time. But if you want to, you can see your daily step counter or monthly distance covered. Being a quartz, the movement is extremely accurate, with a stated deviation range of plus or minus 15 seconds a month. The model also comes with all the extra functionality you'd expect from a Casio model. You can have up to 4 individual daily alarms set up, an auto calendar that knows how many days there are in February, a countdown timer, stopwatch functionality, and a world time feature set against 300 cities worldwide. The watch is waterproof to a depth of 200 meters, and as you can see from the footage in this video, it's going to be more than enough to deal with most of the things you can throw at it on a day-to-day basis. My local pool doesn't have the time shown anywhere for some reason, and the clarity of the screen with this model is so good you can read the time with it underwater with no issues. As far as measurements go, as I said earlier, this is bigger than what I would go for most applications. Diameter wise it's 40mm across, but as a square model that can be deceptive. It's clearly quite large and bulky on wrist. At 13mm thick, it's got quite a lot of presence as a result. But this is the sort of thing that you can get away with wearing on top of a base layer, or even a thin jumper if you're out exercising in the winter months, or a wetsuit if you're doing something more adventurous. I mentioned earlier that I went for the blue model to match my exercise gear, but there are other options available. You've got standard black or white models, a toned down red version, and an extremely hard to miss lime version. There are 2 models with translucent bezels and some more futuristic colourways. You've then got the GBD-200 LM1, which has some luminescent sections on the lug connecting portion of the strap, and the GBD-200 UU1, which is essentially the black model, but those connecting parts of the strap are see-through green plastic. I could spend the whole video talking about G-SHOCK models, but one thing to be careful with is that there are a lot of different square models, each with different functionality. For example, there are a fair few metal bezel versions of square models, like the GBX100 models, some with metal bracelets too, but none within the GBD-200 range, and so the functionality is not the same. If you want metal, you'd have to do it yourself with a custom modification. Personally though, I wouldn't bother. All it's going to do is add weight to a workout watch, which doesn't make that much sense. I think there would be a pretty strong argument to make that you can't do better for a tool watch than a G-SHOCK. They're affordable, durable, and desirable. When watch YouTubers rank brands, Casio is consistently up there at the pinnacle. In my last video, I was talking a lot about big brands cashing in on cheap plastic quartz models for huge profit margins, with one of the stated aims being to get new generations involved in horology. The real model to follow for that is a G-SHOCK. There's a reason why so many people have nostalgia for Casio models. It's because they grew up with them. One final mention here would be for the new BGD 10K range, because Casio too recognised the need to get new generations on board with the business of telling the time. The GBD 200 range certainly gets my full endorsement as a workout watch, and there are plenty of other models if you're looking for something more specific to your tastes. You might have noticed a recent uptick in my output on the channel recently. I've really been enjoying making content recently and I've thrown myself into it. However, one thing this hasn't allowed me to do is make any real kind of jump in terms of the quality of my output. That is something I'm really going to work on in the future. I think there are a lot of elements of polish that are missing at the moment, but please bear with me. If you have any suggestions on what I could do to improve, I'd genuinely love to hear them. As ever, thank you for your time. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, consider dropping the video a like. and I really appreciate anyone who subscribes. The channel is getting quite close to 1,000 subscribers, which is genuinely a lot more than I ever thought possible. I set the channel up to get back some of the watch chat that was missing in my life, and I really enjoy getting your thoughts and replying in the comments. I hope you join me again on the channel soon.